It's a mic. You're supposed to hold. Like if you don't know how to hold it, get a fucking mic stand.
Hey everyone, this is Joe from Loudwire. Joining us today for another episode of How I Learned to Scream is Johan Hegg from Amon Amarth. Johan, so good to have you on. How are you doing?
Good, man. Yeah.
The Great Heathen Army, the new album from Amon Amarth coming out. It's your 12th album. You've been doing this for so long. Amon Amarth formed 30 years ago. Hard to believe.
Yeah.
So let's take it all the way back 3 decades or more, back to when you were a kid. Can you recall the first time that you ever heard what you would consider to be an extreme metal vocal? Who was it? How old were you?
I think I was like 18, like when I heard growling for the first time. It was the singer of the band Scum, who I would later actually join. One of the guitar players of that band was in my class in high school, and so they were playing a show, and me and some other friends from class went to see the show. That's the first time I saw like death metal, or heard death metal actually.
Because you had a pretty thriving scene there for the early death metal scene in Stockholm.
Oh yeah.
Dismember, one of my favorites. They're back together
Mm-hmm.
now. How did that kind of change your perception of what the boundaries of metal were when you first heard this growl compared to, maybe something like Slayer, which kind of bordered on extreme vocally?
It's hard to say. I never really thought about it too much. It was just different, and I didn't really have any ideas of being in the band at the time anyways. So for me, it was just going to the show and watching my friends play, basically. Through that, I started to listen to more death metal, and one of the first death metal albums I actually did buy, since you mentioned it, was Dismember, Like an Ever-Flowing Stream.
Let's go back to Scum. Yeah. I know there's a demo recording from Scum that you're not on.
Well, first of all, Scum was actually the band that became Amon Amarth. Scum was formed in 1988 by Olavi Mikkonen and some other, and my friend Vesa Merelinen was in there and some other guys, right? And then they broke up 1991 because they had a falling out, and they didn't really have a vocalist either. So, but as we graduated high school, Vesa, who was my classmate, and Olavi went to Greece together on a vacation. And when we were there, I asked him if they weren't going to put the band back together. And they said, well, we don't have a singer. And I said, well, I can sing, kind of jokingly. And I was like, yeah, right. But then we went to a metal show, like a metal pub. I don't know, for whatever reason, I started growling along to some songs. And the one I remember growling along to was The Final Countdown with Europe, actually. When we got back home, they asked me if I want to come down to the rehearsal place and try out. And I said, sure, why not? Like, I've never done anything like this before, but yeah, why not? So I did, and it didn't really go well. So Olavi, he put together like a mixtape, a cassette with different death metal acts, like classic acts like Entombed, Deicide, Therion, Edge of Sanity was on there, Pestilence, I think it was on there, Carcass,
all great stuff.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I started trying to find my own voice. But since I had my own inspiration, I had my own like idols that I grew up with, I tried to bring that into the whole mix.
Now, of course, you were rehearsing with the band. Where else were you practicing vocals? Were you in your bedroom at home? Did your family hear? What was going on there?
No. Only at rehearsals. But I mean, I think back then we rehearsed like 2 or 3 times a week. We had a rehearsal place at the local youth club. I think we had 3 hours a week. But I remember what my grandfather said when he heard Sorrow to Noel for the first time, the mini CD that we did. And he actually said, well, at least you can hear its music.
So hey, that's a compliment. That's better than most people in extreme metal
yes.
With the elderly.
And my granddad was not a man of big words, so I'll take it any day.
You're very good at doing, you know, kind of like those mid-ranged, kind of higher screams, and then as well as the
Yeah,
guttural ones. What was it like exploring the depth of your voice?
I think in the beginning it was very uncontrolled. I have much more control of the voice now. Back then, it was everywhere from really deep grunts to breaking screams.
So how deep into your career, maybe I guess what album cycle was it where you started to become more comfortable with where your voice was at and it became a little bit more of a routine?
When we recorded, I think the Avenger, when I finally went to a vocal coach, where I actually kind of got that much control over my voice that I could really start, exploring um, different ways of developing the growl into more melodic stuff as well. It was more, you know, about wanting to sing than knowing how to sing and how to
Mhm.
phrase. Like I have this line of lyric and then it needs to go in here, so I'll just sing it faster, or I'll just stretch it out a little bit. It doesn't really matter if it follows the rhythm that
Mhm.
much. So
There's a lot of charm to especially any band's early albums in that way, and that there's maybe a lack of overall maturity, but you could hear a bunch of young people just going for it. You don't really know exactly
yeah, pretty
what you're
much.
going for or where you're going.
It was a learning curve, and we I think it went in with everything. We didn't really think anybody else could understand what we were doing. So we wanted to produce ourselves, we wanted to do everything ourselves, be in full control of everything, which hindsight maybe wasn't that smart, because like it's always good to have an outside voice into what you're doing, both musically and vocally. So once we started working with a producer properly, with Jens Bogren, all that changed. In the beginning, I didn't understand what he wanted from me, because he would always be like, all right, one more. Okay. Was that good or bad? I don't know. All right, one more. And then one more. And you go like, was it good or bad? Did I do something? Did I do it right now, or did I do it wrong? Now you're losing your growl. Take your time, take a sip of water, and we'll do one more. And then I think I have what I need. It was kind of frustrating.
Now, one hallmark of your voice is that you're known for enunciating so well. There's such clarity to what you do, especially as the years go on. I'm assuming now that this is a very important feature of vocals for you. It's important for you and what you do, but what is your viewpoint of vocals where you can't understand some of the lyrics? Maybe like the early Cannibal Corpse stuff with Chris Barnes or something like that.
I think it's awesome. I love that stuff. It doesn't have anything to do with that really. It's just a matter of where my influences come from. And I'm
Mhm.
definitely from the '80s with the '80s heavy metal stuff. And even '80s thrash, obviously with Slayer and Metallica and everything. I think very early on, it was important to enunciate for me, not because I thought anybody else was doing it wrong. It's just the way I wanted to do it. So
And especially with the lyrics, and they're so vivid. It's so much storytelling, and there's,
yeah.
I mean, Viking battles and all these other sorts of things. Who wouldn't want to hear those lyrics? Let's talk about a little bit of a controversial topic here that we always do on these How I Learned to Scream episodes, which
Yeah.
is cupping the microphone. Very
No.
divisive. It's a no for you. Yeah. Where do you stand on it?
Big,
What do you think when
big
you see people
fucking
doing
no.
it?
Big fucking no. When you're cupping the mic, what you really need to do is get your, you know, what you hear better. Because
Mhm.
that's, for me, that's a key thing. I spend a lot of time getting the sound in my ears correct these days. Because when you have the sound in your ear good, then you can really start working your vocals in a really relaxed and comfortable way, and then you don't need to cup the mic. And cupping the mic is just creating extra distortion, and it just sounds awful. I don't like it. Everybody who cups the mic kind of, that's right. They all kind of sound the same actually when they do that.
Yeah, it
So
homogenizes the sound a bit. It's cool for a little extra added effect at the end of like a line if you kind of
maybe
bury it or something.
As a microphone technique, sure, but to do it constantly, I don't think.
Yeah.
No.
The other half of the cupping the mic debate is for a lot of extreme metal vocalists, it just looks weird to put your hand further down the mic. Like Corpse Grinder does it and it looks fine.
You're gripping the mic and you're singing into it. It's, does this make it look better? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's a mic. You're supposed to hold, like, if you don't know how to hold it, get a fucking mic stand.
Let's talk about a little bit more of the live element. Touring, I'm sure for you, has changed quite a lot from figuring out how to do it on the road, how to maintain your voice. What about pacing yourself for the show? Amon Amarth are a headliner band and have been for a long time, so you play long shows. What do you do as far as movement on stage, controlling your breath, and maintaining your voice for the duration of a tour?
I mean, basically, there's a bunch of stuff that goes into maintaining the voice. I think one of the first things that I realized I had to do was skip hard liquor, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, hard liquor, it dries out the throat, and alcohol in itself is dehydrating. So, it's not a good thing to drink too much on the road as a singer. But otherwise, as I said before, I spend a lot of time making sure that I have what I need in my hearing so that I can be relaxed when I sing. I was having issues with my hearing on stage, and my voice was not feeling good because I was straining myself. And we were on tour in North America together with Grand Magus, talking to JB. He was a great guy, and as he's like, I hear your voice is a bit strained. Like, I don't know, I can't really get my hearing. And he said, you know what you should do? Tell them to raise the high end in your hearing. And I was like, yeah, but I want the bottom. I want the, no, trust me. Raise the high end in your hearing. So I did, and it made all the difference. Because all of a sudden, your voice is cutting through, and it sounds awesome,
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear yourself in such a great way without actually having to raise the volume.
Doesn't even have to do with you altering your voice. Made all the difference for how you maintain your voice on the road.
Before every show, I'm doing like a 1 hour physical and vocal warm up. Basically, I do like a 20 to 30 minute yoga. I do that, which helps me warm up the body without actually having to work out like really hard. But it really gets the blood pumping, and in a really soft and good way. And it opens up the chest and the back and everything. And I do massaging the neck muscles and stretches around the neck and the face and the stuff like that. And then certain vocal warm-ups that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with using the vocal cords. It's more like making this humming sound, like zzz, zzz, and rolling, stuff like that, just to get the vocal cords to warm up without actually using them.
Yeah, activate them.
I just need to feel the vocal cords working. It doesn't matter if it sounds good or not. It just has to be like, I feel that I'm sort of in control of them. And then you get a good feeling, and then you go on stage and just...
Cool. It's always interesting to see what different techniques everybody uses to either warm up before the show or kind of decompress after. Everybody's always got a different answer. And I think the answer truly for anybody is what works best for you, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's what it is. Because it's all about having the confidence and, as you said, trusting that your voice will do the job for those 60 to 90 minutes you're on stage. And so that you can really deliver every night.
Johan, thank you so much for joining us on How I Learned to Scream. Now we know your whole story of how you learned how to do it, all the way from a kid, 30 years later. with Amon Amarth leading right up to the release of The Great Heathen Army on Metal Blade Records. Amon Amarth's one and only label home. Go pick that up. It's Amon Amarth. You know it's going to be awesome, people.